What did you come up with?
I got the Health and Safety at Work Act
Yeah.
1974.
Yeah.
The safe operation and maintenance of the working environment.
Okay.
Safe use of handling and storage of dangerous substances. Adequate training of staff to ensure health and safety.
Yeah.
And the adequate welfare provisions for staff at work.
Good. Stop there. And Hannah, any additional health and safety regs you identified?
Yeah, the other one I got was the PPE one.
Good. PPE, personal protective equipment. Yeah. And you mentioned earlier RIDDLE.
Yeah, RIDDLE was
Reporting of incidents,
making
diseases
sure
and
that
dangerous
they're all together.
occurrences.
Okay. I mean, why is it important that employees overall are looking at these regs?
To make sure that they've put everything in place and to make sure they've thought of everything.
Also, it's a law.
Yeah.
On certain laws, if they don't do them certain things, it could get sued.
Yeah, and it's about them duties on the so the laws normally are really prescriptive. There's a duty for employers to make sure they do, there's a duty for employees, isn't there, as well? Okay, 2.3 then. From your research, explain how public services ensure personal and operational duties have a safe working environment. Anna, we'll kick off with you.
In order for the uniform public sector to ensure safety for the workers, they have to produce a thorough risk assessment showing all areas that are unsafe and produce ways to make them more safe. They also have to equip all the officers and soldiers with correct PPE such as helmets, gloves, in case there's any slip, trip, falls, so it'll protect them if it's not like a big accident.
Yeah.
They also have to ensure that all the pieces of equipment that are used on the jobs are checked, and if there are any damages they have to be replaced immediately because they can't go out with broken equipment.
Brilliant. Just stop there. Can you perhaps take over and see if any additionals?
A safe working environment can be achieved through a formal command structure.
Good.
This ensures roles and responsibilities of command, making it clear what each of them are in control of and doing. Personal protective equipment, rules and legislations, making that clear.
Yeah.
Risk assessment, knowing what risks are in that environment, and training.
Good. In terms of training, just a quick question really on the side. Can you explain what types of training might really help people be safe in a working environment?
Being aware of what risks
Good.
And what they can cause.
Yeah. Good.
Being trained on all the equipment.
Good.
So like the army have specialists who are trained in one particular area, and then if there's a job with that, they have to go and do it.
Yeah, with the equipment and with the training in place. Well done. So explain how risk assessment ensures effective management. Lauren, can we start off with you?
A consultation with staff to risk assess and how to risk assess together.
Yeah.
Control measures that can be put in place after deciding. It creates evidence against any health and safety incident that will happen. It shows the awareness and understanding of risk to employers. And risk assessments assess the likelihood of a risk happening and the severity of the incident if it was to happen.
Okay, stop in there. Anna, can you take over and tell me a bit more about risk assessment and the explanation why it's important?
Risk assessments are important because they contain reasons to improve. They have a thing called a risk rating where it's got numbers of how at the beginning how much of a risk it was, and then when you've put the ways of improving it, how much the risk will be then. And then it'll also give you simple changes to kind of make it more of a safe place. And so like you've got to brief the team and show them exactly what they've got to do. And
Did you find an example of a public service using risk assessment? Something called dynamic risk assessment, I think, is used quite heavily in one of the public services.
In the fire rescue.
Good, well done, yeah, it is. On the way to incidents, they do a quick risk assessment as they're approaching the scene, looking at all the indicators of how serious a fire might be, what the wind direction is, what the amount of people that might be affected might be, yeah. Okay, so that's good. Is there any situation where if risk assessment is deemed to be too risky, what happens if we think, right, okay, it's very dangerous and there's a high likelihood of it happening, would you do the activity?
No.
No, good, we don't do it.
No.
Unless,
There's safety precautions and they've done a risk assessment on it.
no,
Trained to deal with it.
no. What's the one reason we'd override? It's really risky and there's a high certainty it's going to happen.
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't normally do it, no?
If you had to, like,
If you've got to, if you
really
have
had
no
to do it,
choice,
Got a
yeah.
choice.
Usually war or some other activity like that. Where? Right, moving on to
Training.
training. Yeah, tell me about training and how that improves effective management of health and safety.
Training, planning, delivering and monitoring of key targets, areas and what to train people on. The demonstration of operational competence through complementation of core training and assessment.
Mhm.
It needs to be a consistency of the standards of training through full-time and part-time. In my case, I was looking at firefighters.
Good, yeah. What did you find out then?
That targeted training needs analysis.
Good, yeah.
There needs to be periods of refresher training.
Good.
Keeping training records to see who's had what training. Keeping training up to date.
Excellent.
And training keeps up to the correct standards of the Health and Safety Act.
So in particular, you looked at the fire and rescue service and you saw there's sometimes an inconsistency between part-time staff and full-time staff, and what was really important is they all go through the same training.
Yeah.
Good. Hannah, do you anything?
I looked into the British Army.
Yeah.
The training is put in place to equip soldiers with the knowledge and the kind of skills they need to equip to use equipment. Before going on deployment, either a regular or a volunteer for the TA has to go on a 6-week training session, which kind of brings them up to speed and brings them kind of into, I don't know what
Into that mindset sort of thing.
into
that
the
they're gonna
mindset
go
of
in
kind
there,
of, you know, what they're going to go into.
Yeah.
They've got to make sure they're
yeah.
up to date with training and make sure they're kind of rethinking about what they used to learn.
Good.
Because it'll be a long time since they did like their initial training.
In essence, a bit like Lauren was saying,
Yeah.
sort of refresher training. Good. Okay, moving on to the accident prevention then. Can you kick me off, please, Hannah?
Accident prevention is ensured by the Uniform Public Service that there's going to be no kind of injuries. It's the manager's kind of job to make sure that he looks at everything and make sure that they're all doing what they need to do, they're not messing around, that they're all safe with the equipment that they're given.
Yeah.
And that if they didn't know what they were doing, that they would come to them and they would brief them again on what to do.
Okay, so Lauren, any additional points on the accident prevention?
Simply having a good relationship with the different staff
Good.
that helps prevent it helps prevent accidents.
And why is that? Just explain that to me a bit further.
They get on better.
Yeah.
They're more aware of the area around them as they know each other.
Yeah.
And they look out for each other.
Yeah. Good. That's right.
Always follow rules. I had an example from the fire and rescue service. As a firefighter going into a burning building, that firefighter will have before a risk assessment. They'll have personal protective equipment
Good.
and the training,
Yeah.
which makes the operation that they're doing more safer
Yeah.
and prevents accidents
Yeah. Good.
from
Exactly that.
happening.
Well done. Okay, into 2.4 then. What incidents will be investigated then? Can you start me off, please, Hannah?
I've got a
Just-
list of
Just give me the first 3 that you've got.
death, injury and slip.
Okay,
and
stop
falls.
there. Just explain those instances a bit more. So death, obviously, self-explanatory. It's all ceased. What was the next one?
Injury.
Okay, what type of injury we're talking about?
If you are at a height,
Good.
you could be on a scissor lift or you could be
Good.
climbing a building or something.
Yep.
If you fall or
Yep.
you slip
Good.
or you kind of cut yourself,
Yeah.
that's under the injury
Good.
part where you've got to kind of get first aid.
Well done. Stop there. Laura? Carry
I
on.
had near misses,
Good, yeah.
something that had the potential to cause harm.
Good, yeah.
A dangerous occurrence,
Mhm.
a number of reporting events, which is all under Radio Act.
Yeah.
A hazard, something that has the potential to cause harm,
Yeah.
something that would damage property, products, or the environment.
Yeah, good. I think that, okay, that is an incident. So we've got death, injury, we've got
Dangerous occurrences,
near misses, yeah, and anything else? Another one beginning with a D.
diseases.
Well done, diseases. Again, you said it was under Riddle.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Explain the process that the public services use then, Lauren. Sorry, the process. Explain the process they use.
They have 4 steps.
Okay. Just take me through the first 2, please.
Step 1, gathering the information.
Yeah.
Step 2, analysing the information.
Now, explain to me why them 2 steps are important.
Because before any investigation starts, the
Mhm.
scene needs to be preserved and information needs to be collected from
Mhm.
anyone who is involved.
Yeah.
All information gathered is highly important to
Mhm.
an investigation.
Of course.
Analysing the information is basically in the name. You need to look through all the information, find out what happened, what
What?
was the cause,
Yeah.
any details to why it happened and what wasn't done.
Did you look at a reference for this to find this information out?
I looked at compensation claims.
Sorry, did you look at a reference that gave you the information on what would be investigated, what the types of investigations were? The Health and Safety Executive reference?
I looked at the Health and Safety Executive website on how to investigate incidents.
That's right, good, okay. And it was fairly explanatory then, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's a standard procedure, is it?
it's standard, yeah.
Okay. Moving on, Hannah, can you complete the other things that will be investigated, please?
After they have to kind of analyse them, they have to review them and look at kind of if there was anything that was not looked at really
Mhm.
by the management.
Yeah.
And if there was, they have to then bring it up with the manager and find out the reason why that was not looked into.
Explain the purpose of this then. Why is this so important?
Because it prevents it from happening in the future
Good.
and
Yeah.
it stops anyone else being injured.
Okay, what implications might we have then if reports are made and investigations are carried out? What implications for the uniformed services in particular may there be?
The injured or the harmed could claim compensation.
Good, okay, stop there. Give me another one.
There's notices that
Mhm.
kind of
What sort of notices,
put
please?
in. There's 3 main notices: the prohibition notice, the improvement notice, and
Yeah,
the
a
crown,
crown
notice.
notice. Good. Okay, Lauren, can you carry on with your examples then, please? So-
I found an example
Mhm.
from the HSE website.
Mhm.
The headline was Scottish Fire and Rescue Service at Edinburgh High Court in relation to the death of a firefighter,
Mhm.
Ewan Williamson.
Good.
In this case, Ewan Williamson's employers should have ensured firefighters were given clear instructions and training,
Good. Well done.
which caused them to claim compensation
Good.
as it was proved that they wasn't done.
So, did you get a figure that it was compensated?
It didn't give you
All right.
figures.
No worries. Okay, no worries. But there was compensation.
There was compensation.
Hannah, did you find anything in terms of evidence?
I didn't get any evidence on it, but I found that alongside getting fined, you can get imprisoned.
Okay. And did
the
you
manager.
find the sort of like times of imprisonment?
You can get 1 to 2 years imprisonment
Okay,
for
good.
not complying with the
Yeah.
rules.
Can we try and find some example? That'd be good. Yep. Okay. So evaluation in the last section. It says what consequences may have to be accepted by an organisation. This is it's quite a difficult question, really. It's quite complex. If somebody has an accident or an injury, what are the consequences that are a result of that on the organisation? So Anna, can you start me off with one you found?
I've got costs
Good. Can you highlight what them might be?